Good morning, how are you all? My name is McDonnell, Applications Engineer and Dedicated CAD Systems on behalf of Graphisoft. So I'm going to talk today about Building Information Modeling, or BIM, and how Archicad strives to move this technique or this idea forward. Archicad is a fairly mature product at this stage. It's 28 years old. It has many resellers, distributors, scattered through many parts. No relationship to the users. We also have our processes, so this is when the users start to become involved. What processes within the office do our users and our staff have? And also, how does our organization benefit from using particular software? So in 2D, the transition from drawing board to 2D CAD didn't really have an impact on how our processes or our organization developed. It was a very simple transition from what we did on a drawing board is what we did on the electronic drawing board. So business as usual, as is noted there, BAU, business as usual in that transition. The next transition, as we move on to BIM software, okay, so we can see that our technology has evolved fairly substantially. The difference between 2D CAD and 3D BIM technology is very substantial. It also affects our internal workflow. So as a business sense, it is important to understand it's not just the software that changes. It's how we develop as a business or develop as a practice, and how our communication improves or develops with our clients. So our internal workflow, possibly we introduce not only a CAD manager, but also a BIM manager. We also have power users within the software. So our internal workflow does change, but also it's not a detriment to us. It's a change for the better. And also our roles and responsibilities within the office, that also changes. It's not just simply a number of people using a CAD workstation. It is discussions, meetings, collaboration within the office. All of that stuff as a business sense, which is very important to understand. Not just the software has changed, but also our business roles have changed. So our effectiveness, and basically this is what introduced with team working in Archicad. The next step that we have, which is where we're currently at, we have transformed into not just Archicad BIM, but also collaboration with other sectors and other softwares, our ND BIM. So more than just 3D. I know that seems a little bit odd, but we have manpower, materials, timings. All of that information can be developed from our BIM model. So we're still using our Archicad to develop 3D buildings. We're using them to improve our designs, but we're also getting far more information out of our one piece of software, or our one piece of software with a number of collaborations with other software. Our external workflow. So previously, in just regular Archicad, we would have had different routes between the office staff, from lead architect down to technicians. We would now have a workflow with consultants. So our structural guys, our MEP guys, would also be involved in the design process, and together with new techniques that are developing within Archicad, all of this becomes part of our business practice. Our business activities, for example, dealing with contractors. Our contractors could become very involved with how our designs develop because we have the technology to do that. We have the ability to export and import various different formats. So again, I go back to our structural people. If we are collaborating very heavily with those, then the contractor will obviously be advised on how things are developing. So all of this we can see from the transition into 2D CAD. The ability for a business practice to move forward is substantially larger, and obviously it's more streamlined and therefore more productive for us. Software. We're, again, very flexible, and our coordination through XREFs, etc., was gaining power, gaining momentum. With BIM software, in whatever form, our flexibility, again, as BIM as a technology developed, took a downturn slightly because of the leap that we had to take. But our coordination was by far advanced. And now, Graphisoft would like to present to everyone that both our flexibility and our coordination has taken a fairly substantial leap in recent years, and we hope that trend would continue. In this particular case, again, I've talked about teamwork and the transparency of users. This is a screenshot taken from an Archicad model where it shows a number of different users all collaborating on the one file. For the user themselves, they can get to see what other users within the office have reserved certain elements. So you can see the teams could be delegated out to certain aspects of a project, all being very high level to the user, being very transparent, and not causing an impact in productivity and actual use of the software. To reiterate again, the teamwork can be this idea of collaboration, because it's going to happen so much more, again, with satellite firms and satellite users. The ability of us to delegate how the project is controlled within our software. We can have a very loose, our dynamic workflow is a very loose, broad connection between projects. So a number of users in any office can be working on a number of projects concurrently. Or we can have a very controlled, again, within the software, we can delegate responsibilities to different staff, different access rights to staff. How can certain teams access one project? How can satellite firms access a project? In this particular diagram here, we see what we would class as the architectural model versus the structural model, and they would not be the same thing. Okay, so from within ArchiCAD, the screenshots that have been given, our architect, our designer, would take on the full model, but also underpin a structural model. Okay, again, with the eye to collaboration with a structural engineer. But these are not the same. The architectural model and the structural model would not be the same. So on the left-hand side, we have how it would look in ArchiCAD. On the right-hand side, we would have the model as it would look in a structural package, in this case, Tekla. So we would have collaboration between an architect in ArchiCAD and a structural engineer in Tekla. So between the two, and using IFC technology, we can reference both of these models within ArchiCAD. How does that benefit us? Well, as the structural engineer affects his model, then obviously the architect can see the changes, and the information is not lost, in inverted commas, it's not lost in translation. It's because it's a model base. Okay, it's not a 2D set of drawings that are being transferred backwards and forwards through XREFs, for example. We have a direct transfer, direct export of information into 3D, so we can very easily see the information and how it has been changed, fundamental changes or critical changes at the outset of the design, rather than have to wait till the design is finished and run a complete analysis. This is something that we would see at a very preliminary stage that we can run on any model at any time, and again, help us to talk to the client to explain how possibly we could help in their design. So in summary, our ArchiCAD software, or BIM software, the modeling aspect is almost a given. The idea of coordination, 2D and 3D, it's almost a given. But now we're focusing on collaboration both within the office and interoperability between sectors and software. And given those three different facets, we would definitely see improved design and proven productivity gains. A number of different reports have been developed from client interaction to see how much has your software helped, how much money has your software saved in the design, as no rework on site, which is the golden egg of all design. So we can have no rework on site. These productivity gains help to sell the software itself. So that, in a nutshell, is where ArchiCAD and Graphisoft are striving. The interoperability, I think, is something that's going to have a huge impact on how our clients work. Hopefully Bernard will be able to talk some more about that later on. So thank you for your time. I can take questions.
Yes.